So, hello, students. Good morning. Good day. Okay. All right. Now, before we proceed now to our topic, so let me remind to you that please don't forget to check your attendance at the LMS. Okay. Okay. Very good. Now, before we go through now to our main topic, so let's have an activity first, so that you will be able to energize your brain cells. Is it okay for you, class? Okay, thank you. Okay, wait. Let me click the PowerPoint here. Now, our activity for today, it's called word scramble. So what you're going to do, class, now is to arrange the letters from the words. Okay. Now, let's proceed. So we have here for number one. So my question is, what do you think are the words for the number one? Okay, thank you. It's hypothesis testing. How about number two? Okay, very good. It's hypothesis. How about for number three? Okay, thank you. It's it's null. No, null hypothesis. Then for number four, what do you think the words for number four? Okay, thank you, class. So it's alternative hypothesis. How about for number five? So what do you think of that? What do you think are the words for the number five? Okay, thank you. It's critical region. How about for number six? Okay, thank you. It's rejection. For number seven, so what do you think of that word for the number seven? Okay, thank you. It's correlation or correlation. Okay, now for number eight, how about for number eight? Okay, it's accept. Then for number nine, okay, it's statistical hypothesis. And for number 10, what do you think of the words, no, for the number 10? For the number 10, okay, it's critical values. Now, class, my question for this activity. So, are these words are related to our main topic, to our discussion, or for our today's discussion? Okay, let's see, no? Let's see if that these words are related to our today's discussion. So, but before that, no, let me share or let me present to you our learning objectives. So, at the end of the lesson, you learners must be able to number one, define the hypothesis testing and its steps. No, then for number two, distinguish the steps in hypothesis testing. And for the number three, wait, wait. Okay, sorry. Then for number three, we have here understand the terminologies of hypothesis testing. Now, our topic for today, class, no, our main topic for today is all about introduction to hypothesis testing. So basically, class, no, mag more in terminologies gyud ta aning dapita. Kay um tungod nga kanang introduction man ta, no? Now, we have here for qualitative. So, familiar pa mo ng qualitative class? No? Okay, so let's see, no? Ako i-discuss, okay? Now, based on the definition for qualitative are the measurements for which there no natural numerical scale is, but which consist of attributes label or labels or other non-numerical characteristics like gender, physical traits, colors, or anything that does not have a number associated with it. So meaning class, no, the key word for this qualitative is more in sa man, it more in or it expressed in words, no? Now, let's proceed to the quantitative. So, balik ko na ako class, no? For qualitative, muna siya, no? Na, na more in words yun siya. So, dili siya most likely, like, dili yun siya sa tawag ana, di yun siya mag-involve og numbers, okay? Now, for quantitative are numerical measurements that arise from a natural numerical scale, like how many, how much, or how often. From the word itself, class, no, nga quantity. So, meaning, class, kung may nga itaog quantity, no, yes, it measures of numbers. So, meaning, class, no, nga mag-involve siya, no, involved siya og mga numbers. Now, these two these two terms, class, no, if we were going to relate or the research, no, na po na sila gitawag sa research po natin gitawag na qualitative research o quantitative research. Now, it has the same meaning, but napod sila mga points or factors nga napuno po sa definition para sa kanang qualitative o quantitative. Now, let's proceed to the qualitative sa research class, okay? In research, for qualitative research class, ang napuno niya, no, okay, maka-formulate mo o kung sa man, hypothesis. Then also, it expressed in words. Then, it has a smaller sample size. Then the data is then analyzed by summarizing, categorized, and interpreting. Okay. Now, on the other hand, for quantitative, it allows you to test, no? It allows you to test the hypothesis. Then also it expressed in numbers and it has also larger sample size. Then for the data, it analyzed through math and statistical analysis. Okay, any questions of these two terms, class, about the qualitative and quantitative before we proceed to the next slide? Okay, so atong balikon, class, ha, ato i-summary, no, qualitative gani, no, from the word itself, quality. So most likely nga mag-involve siya og words. Then for quanti or quantitative, no, mag-involve siya og numbers. Okay, now let's proceed to the next slide. So we have here 4 types of measurement scales. So are you familiar with these 4 types of measurement scales, class? Familiar ba mo kung kung unsa man jud ang mga type sa measurement scales? Okay, thank you. Now, we have here nominal. So nominal, it is used for labeling variables without any quantitative value. So ang nominal, class, no, mahugd na siya og i-categorize siya. Okay? Yeah, dili pod siya og involved, okay? Di siya involved og numbers. So most likely involved gud siya og unsa man kanang numbers. I mean, involved siya og kanang words. Now, we have here another example. So, what is your gender? So, we have here male and female. So, sa inyong na-observe, class, no, kwan yun siya, kanang category yun siya. Unsa man atong category nga gigamit ani nga first picture? It's gender, okay? Wait, let me use the laser pointer here. It's gender, okay? Itungod nga ang gender na may duha makabuok, no? Mao ang male, mao pod ang female. So next, what is your hair color? So we have here brown, black, blonde, gray, and other. So unsa man nga category nga atong gigamit? It's hair color. Now next, where do you live? So asa man ka nagpuyo? So we have here north of the equator. So we have also here south of the equator, then neither in the International Space Station. So unsa man atong gigamit ani class na category? It's live, okay? Asa ka nagpuyo, no? Now, next, let's proceed to the ordinal. So ordinal, it is a specified, okay? It is a specified order or rank in a series and typically measures of non-numeric concepts like satisfaction, happiness, discomfort, and etc. So in ordinal data class, no, it describes ranking or order. So from the word itself, class, no, order. So meaning hapsay siya. So na siya pattern, na siya sequence, na siya series or na siya ranking or i-rank siya ang information. Okay? Sa kana nga information nga data. Let's have an example. So we have here, how do you happy? How do you feel today? So we have here for 1, very unhappy. For 2, unhappy. So 3, for 3, it's okay. And number 4, I'm happy. And number 5, very happy. Now, so sa ordinal class, no, mag-involve siya og words kay tungod nga sa man tungod sa ihang meaning nga gi-rank siya. So di bot pasabot ka sa nga kaning naay number, okay? Sa kaning nga dapit, kaning nga left side, no, sa to ang information sa data, kanay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, di bot pasabot class nga nga nag-involve ang ordinal og numbers. So gi-rank nato siya class, no, gikan sa pinakagamay, okay, hangtod sa pinakadako, which is very happy. Okay? Nakagets ra? Okay. Now, let's proceed to the next example. So, how satisfied are you with our service? So, we have here number 1, very unsatisfied. So, number 2, somewhat unsatisfied. And number 3, neutral. And number 4, somewhat satisfied. And number 5, very satisfied. So, sa tuwang nga example class, no, sa tuwang information sa data, kay gi-rank nato siya, no, gi-rank nato gikan sa pinakagamay hangtod sa pinakadako, which is ang very satisfied. So muna to ang keyword nga to ang hinumduman class. Kung maingon ganito og ordinal, it's more in ranking or series or in order. Okay? Okay. Now, let's proceed to the interval. So, interval indicates an amount or numerical order, and the difference between the variables can be known. Its limitation, it has no through 0. So now, let me use my, okay class, let me use a pen in order for us to draw. So, sorry class, no, nga medyo nasuwat na ko ang word nga degree Celsius. Kay tungod nga dili ko, I don't know how to put the sign of degree Celsius in the laptop for our PowerPoint presentation. Okay. Now, we have here the temperature. Okay. So for temperature, here, for temperature, we have 60 degrees Celsius, 20 degrees Celsius, 10 degrees Celsius, negative 15 degrees Celsius, and negative 20 degree Celsius. Now, based sa one class, no, sa ton definition class, sa interval, hindi naman siya, it indicates an actual amount. So meaning, naghisgot siya og unsa man numbers, okay? Numerical. So unsa man atong numerical nga gigamit sa kanang kani nga example sa atong information sa data, mao ang 60, okay? So ang 60, 20, si 10, negative 15, og si negative 20. Now, next, usa sa mga na-highlight or na-emphasize sa definition sa atong interval class, no? Okay, nana siya. The order and the difference between the variables can be known. So meaning class, kung atong hatagon og panahon, no, nga kuwaon ang ilahang difference sa tagsa-tagsa, mahibaw-an gyud nato. So, like for example, si 60 ug si 20. Okay, here, si 60 ug si 20. Pila man ang ihang interval or pila man ihang gap sa kana nga duha, pila man class. Okay, very good. It's 40 degrees Celsius. Muna ang ilahang gap. Okay? Unsa man ang gap, sir? Mura ba og kanang si tawag kana kalayon ba? Okay? Kalayon o kung sangipon pag gani class muo na ang pangag ana bitaw. Mura bag mo na ang space sa kana nga gap. Okay? Okay. Now, let's proceed to the 20 and 10. Okay, here. 20 and 10. So pila man ato ang interval or ang ihang kanang gap class sa kaning 20 and 10, pila man. Okay, very good. It's 10 degrees Celsius. And next, we have here 10 and negative 15. Okay, pila man ang ihang kwan class, pila man ang ilahang interval or gap. Okay, it's negative 5 negative 5 degrees Celsius. How about for negative 15 o si negative 20? Pila man ihang internal gap? Interval gap. Okay. Interval gap, sorry. Interval or gap. Sorry. Kaya siya. Pila man ang ihang interval or gap sa kana nga negative 15 o negative 20. Pila man. Okay. Thank you. It's still the same na negative 5 degrees Celsius. Anong negative 5 degrees Celsius man, sir? Okay, ato siyang i-minus test, no? Negative 15 plus 20. Nganong na plus na siya, sir? Kay tungod nga, duha man kabuk nga negative sign kung ato siyang i-plot og maayo. Okay? Munang nakakam up ta og negative 5 degrees Celsius. Now, we're done with the second statement sa tuang sa tawag ana sa tuang definition sa interval. So now let's proceed to the third statement based on the definition of our interval. So which is its limitation. It has no true zero. So meaning class, no, sa interval, okay? Sa interval, wala ni exist, okay? Wala ni exist ang figure ni 0 degrees Celsius or bisag unsa pa man kas, no? Bisag unsa pa man nga information ka sa kana nga data, as long as kung mahisgot gani ta og interval, no, dili mo exist ang figure sa 0. Okay? Okay. So now balik ko nato ang keyword nato sa interval, ang order, okay? I-order siya gihapsay gikan sa pinakadako hangtod sa pinakagamay or pinakagamay hangtod sa pinakadako. Okay? Now next is ang difference or ang gap. Mahibaw-an dayon nato ato ang mahibaw-an dayon nato ang gap sa kanang example. Okay? Now, next is ang katong figure, no? What ni exist ang figure sa 0. Muna ang ato ang keyword sa or keywords sa interval. Okay? Any questions about the ordinal and interval before we proceed to the next slide? Okay, thank you. Now let's proceed to our ratio. Okay, let's proceed to our ratio. So ratio is a quantitative scale. Unsa man ang quantitative scale, sir? So meaning class, no? Itungod nga na emphasize man si quantitative, so nag-express siya og numbers. Okay? Where there is true, zero, and equal intervals between neighboring points like the length, area, and population. So let's have an example class. Okay, we have here mass. Kung sa gate ng mass sa science class, ang kabug-aton. Okay, ang kabug-aton. So we have here 80, 40, okay, sorry class. We have here 80, 40, 10 kilograms, and 0 kilogram. Now, so ang usa sa mga kanang sa tawag na class, so let's ato ato lang taon no ang properties or based sa definition sa ratio. So we have here a quantitative scale. So sa mga quantitative scale, so mo ni siya no nag-involve siya og numbers gikan sa 80 hangtod ni 0. Now, where there is a true zero, so exist na no, nakakita na mo class no, exist na si zero, napakita na si zero nga figure and equal intervals and equal intervals between neighboring points. So, same sa process, okay? Same sa process sa kanang interval, nahibawan gud nato og pila ang atong interval o gap. So, we have here 80 and 40. So, pila man ato ang gap? Pila man ato ang gap sa kanang 80 ug 40? Okay, very good. It's 40 kilogram. How about si 40 ug si 10? Pila man ato ang interval or gap? Okay, 30 kilogram. Then next, pila man ato ang interval or gap ni 10 ug ni 0 kilogram. Okay, very good. It's 10 kilogram. So, ato ang keyword, no? Keyword na atong gamiton ni ratio or keywords ni ratio para atong mahinumduman mao ang order, no? I-order siya gikan sa pinakadako hangtod sa pinakagamay. Now, next is the difference. So, may buuan nato kung pila ang ihang difference or pila ang interval or gap sa data. Okay, wait for a moment, class. Wait for a moment. One moment. Wait for a moment. Okay, now. Next is sa ratio, no, napakita na sa zero. Dili parehan ni kanang ang sa tawagan na, di parehan ni interval, no, nga wa napakita ang figure sa zero. Okay? Okay. Now, to summary, okay, to summary the four types of measuring or the four types of measurement scales. So let's recall for the nominal data. So nominal data, no muna akong giingon nga gi-categorize siya or categorize. Okay? Next is ordinal. Okay, ordinal. So kung may gitag ordinal class, no, i-order siya or na siya rankings, na siya sequence or na patterns sa information para sa data. Then for nominal and data class, no, tungod nga silang duha kay mas involved, okay, mas involved man sila og words, itawag sila or na-belong sila sa qualitative data. Okay? Itungod nga mas sa tawag ana, mas expressed man sila og words kumpara ni ratio ug ni interval. Okay? Now next, let's proceed to the interval data. For interval data, no, makuha na to ang difference sa makuha na to ang difference nila kung ato siyang sa man i-order or ato siyang i-pattern. Pero nakapan lang class, no, sa interval dili okay. Now, sa nakapan lang ni interval class, no, wala na pakita, okay? Here, na state diri class. no, but no true zero. So what exists? Si zero, si interval data, okay? And next is si ratio data. So si ratio, so same ni interval, no? Nga order siya, pattern siya, kung sequence siya or series siya based sa information. Yeah, dayon, ang nakapan lang, that's no, ang nakapan lang kay nagpakita, okay? Nagpakita na si zero or na-exist si zero nga figure. So si ratio si interval data gitawag og quantitative data. Kung sa ganitong quantitative data class, muna ang mga data nga most kanang express og numbers. So while si qualitative data, so muna siya mga data nga unsa man kana nag-express og words. Okay? Any questions or clarifications about the four types of measurement scales before we proceed to the challenging um, topic for today's video? Okay, very good. Now, nanata class, no? Nanata sa point class nga nagnisud na ta sa man. Nisud na ta sa pinakalisod nga topic or okay, topic, pinakalisod nga topic sa statistics. Okay. Now we have here statistical hypothesis. So, statistical hypothesis is a statement, assertion, and conjecture about one or more populations based on sample information. So it is a statement or assumption which may or may not be true, which may and may not be true. So kuan siya class no, a statement siya nga nga maingon na tinuod ba siya or dili tinuod. Okay? Okay. Now, inferential statistics. Okay? Kanang naka-remember ba mo class? Naka-remember ba mo sa katong gihisgot nako sa statistics, di ba naman to two kinds of statistics mo to ang first one kay ang descriptive statistics o ang ikaduha ang inferential statistics. So unsa gani ng descriptive statistics class? Okay, di ba sa descriptive statistics kay muna siya ang kanang murabag na hog nga interpret gi unsa tawag gi-gather or kanang unsa pa man most likely ka nag-summarize lang sa data nga like mahog na siya nga basic, okay, basic nga buhaton, basic tool or basic nga pag-solve sa descriptive statistics, no? Diha na nisud na si measures of central tendency o si measures of variability. So on the other hand, si inferential statistics, no, muna ang mga statistics or mga tools or instruments nga imong paggamiton nga mas beyond, okay? Mas beyond pa sa measures of central tendency o measures of variability. So diha na masud si z-test, si t-test, si chi-square, si person R correlation o si ANOVA. So mas lisod, okay? Mas hago or mas kanang sa tawag ana crucial. Sakto ba ang word na ko class? Crucial si inferential statistics basta mas lisod si inferential statistics compared ni descriptive statistics. Now, let's proceed to the iyahang statement. So here, provide us with the procedures for validating our statistical hypothesis. So muto akong giingon class no ang inferential statistics diha na magsud si chi-square, si person R o whatsoever. So mas lisod siya. Then, so this procedure is called hypothesis testing. Now, let's proceed to the hypothesis testing. So, hypothesis testing is a form of statistical inference that uses, okay, that uses data from a sample to draw conclusions about a population parameter or a population probability distribution. Now, for hypothesis testings class, hypothesis testing, it refers to the formal procedures, formal procedures siya nga ginagamit sa mga statistician. So muna ang mga rason kas, that's why class no nga some of the statistician nga dagko kayo og mga sweldo kay tungod nga grabe, okay, grabe ang ilang pagka hands-on about sa kanang inyohang gikan sa pag-gather sa data o sa pag-interpret na gyud sa data sa inyohang research. Okay? Okay. Then gihapon maingon si statistician class kung kanus ma-accept o kanus apod ma-reject ang inyong statistical hypothesis. Okay, now next slide. So we have here two kinds of statistical hypothesis. For number one, we have here null hypothesis. Kung sa tinang null, sir. So let's see in sa akong discussion dun. So for null hypothesis, it is denoted as kanino H sub O. Okay? Gamay nga O sa pinakatumoy nga letter H. Okay? Muna iyahang symbol or muna iyahang sign. Now, it is a statement that specifies some aspects of the population that is known or assumed to be true unless there is a strong evidence, and the statement the statement being tested. Sir, excuse me, class. Stop for a while, for a while. Now, for null hypothesis class, no, statement gyapon siya nga in which nga mo sulti siya nga there is no significant relationship or there is no difference between chu. Labi na sa inyohang kanang inyong research nga title. Okay? Now, for null hypothesis class, ang ihang mathematical sign, okay? Ihang mathematical sign kay equal nga symbol. Diba mo sa nang equal nga symbol class? Here, muna iyahang equal nga symbol. Kana. Muna ang iyahang kanang symbol sa null hypothesis. Okay? Now, let's proceed to the alternative hypothesis. So, alternative hypothesis, it is denoted as kani, H sub A. Then, it is a statement that contradicts, no? Makikontra siya sa null hypothesis. So, mura na siya imong amiga class or amigo class, no? Na makipag-kontra sa imong mga decisions. So, it is the statement that must be true if that null hypothesis is false. So, kung meaning class, no? Kung imong null hypothesis kay true, si alternative hypothesis mahimong false. Kung imong null hypothesis kay false, in alternative hypothesis mahimong true. So mo contradict siya sa every na decision. Now, the alternative hypothesis class, no, ang iyang mathematical symbol kay unsa man not equal here, not equal, less than or greater than, as long as dili siya nga equal sign. Okay? Then diyan na pud mo sulti the alternative the alternative hypothesis nga there is a significant relationship sa inyong research nga title. Okay? Okay, now we have here levels of significance. So alpha or A is a measure of the strength of the evidence that must be present in your sample before you will reject the null hypothesis and conclude that the effect is statistically significant. So for levels of confidence class, no, it is defined as the probability. So probability siya sa pag-reject, no, sa null hypothesis. So let's say there is 90% of rejecting sa probability, or there are 90% of rejecting of a null hypothesis. So mura siya og kanang na siya percentage class bang kanus siya mag-reject sa sa null hypothesis o kanus apod siya mo accept sa null hypothesis, pero kuan siya class, no, mas kuan siya, maggamit siya og percentage nga sign. Okay? Now, let's proceed to the confidence level. So, confidence level denoted by C. So, mura siya og hiwi. Oh, sorry. Sorry sa kung tuwing class. Mura siya og kanang cursive, no? Mura siya cursive nga C. Nga pinakatay nga C. Or hiwi nga C, good siya, literal. So, it refers to the possibility of a parameter that lies within a specified range of values. Now, see, confidence level test, no, mura na siya og kanang, wait, let me test ako ang one test ako ang copy. Let me check for my copy here. For confidence level test, it is a certain percentage, same with kanang significance, no, levels of significance, no, na percentage siya sa kanang confidence interval. So may confidence interval, sir. So mura ba og kanang pag-gap ba, no? Will contain the population mean. So, and also it measures the degree of uncertainty or certainty in a sampling method. Now, for confidence level class, I'm sorry. So we have here two types of errors. So the first one is type 1 error. So type 1 error is the false positive. So sir, I have a question, sir. Unsa day but pasabot aning false positive, sir? False pa gyud siya pero na positive siya. Unsa day pasabot ana niya, sir? So anyone nga napay idea about sa kanang false positive? Okay. So meaning class, no, kaning false positive, it means rejecting, okay? 'Di ba sa pag-reject, false na siya. False na ihang paminaw, ihang atong pagsabot, okay? When it is actually true. So that's the time nga mahimo siya og positive kung ang imuhang na hypothesis kay gi-reject pero tinuod when it is actually true. So it concludes that results are statistically significant when in reality they came about purely by chance or because of unrelated factors. So the significance levels is usually set at 0.05 or 5%. So muna kasagaran nga ang murabaw nag-set og standard kapag pag kuan og significance level. So 5%. So this means class, no, that your results na ay 5% na tsansa or mas gamay pa sa 5% kung ang imuhang null hypothesis kay tinuod. Okay? Okay, now, let's proceed to the type 2 error. It is the false negative. So, false negative na siya class. So, false negative, it means not rejecting the null. So, dili nimo i-reject ang null when it is actually false. So, muna pasabot sa false negative. So, power is the extent to which a test can correctly detect the real effect when there is one. A power level of 80% or higher is usually considered acceptable. Then this is not okay. This is not quite the same as accepting the null hypothesis because hypothesis testing can only tell you, okay? That's just like what I have said earlier, class, no nga ang hypothesis testing musulti or mahisgot kanimo mo kanus ka mo reject o kanus pud ka mo accept sa imong null hypothesis. Then it concludes that there was an effect when the actually was. Okay. Okay. Now, let's proceed to the test statistics. Let's proceed to the test statistics class. So it refers, no, It refers to a value or statistic computed from the sample data that is especially sensitive. Wait, asa na gani ko? Okay, balik ko na ko. Refers a value or statistic computed from the sample data that is especially sensitive to the differences between um, H sub O, which is our null hypothesis, and H sub A, which is our alternative hypothesis. Okay, then it is a calculated as the pattern in your data divided by the variance in the data. So the test statistics test, it is used in a hypothesis test when you are deciding kung kano sa ka mag-decide na mo support or mo reject sa inyong null hypothesis. Now, for parametric test, a statistical test in which specific specific assumptions are made about the population parameter. So diha namang sud, no? Diha namang sud si z-test, t-test, paired t-test, one-way ANOVA, or si analysis of variance, si pair person R, correlation, and aggression analysis. So just like what I have said class, no? So kaning mga ning-ani na unsa man, mga test or tool muna imong mga instrument, no? Ginatawag na siya og inferential statistics. So mas beyond the topic na siya sa katong measures of central tendency or measures of variability. Now, here, let's proceed to the non-parametric test. A statistic, a statistical test used in the case non-metric independent variable. So, diha namang sud class. Okay. Diha namang sud si chi-square goodness of fit, si chi-square of independent samples, si Whitney's test, si Wilkerson signed rank test, then si Kruskal-Wallis test, o si Spearman-Bro rank test. So diha naman sila mangsud. Okay, here. We have here critical region. So ako sa pasong test kay. Same as na og slide sa next slide. Here. Critical region, also known as the region of rejection. So itawag po siya og region of rejection. This is a portion of the sampling distribution of rejection of the null hypothesis in favor of its alternative. So we have here the picture class now. As you can see, okay, it's a bell curve. Okay, so same sa katong normal probability distribution na to class. Okay, so familiar naman ta sa to ang normal probability distribution. So the shaded part, okay, here the blue one sa left side nato o sa right side nato sa kaning shaded part, no, kaning color blue, gitawag na sila og critical region class. Okay, gitawag na sila og critical region. Then sa kaning mga values nato class, no, gikan sa to ang z-score, okay, gitawag na siya og mga kanang critical values. So kaning kuan class, kaning shaded region, okay, kaning color na to nga blue, muna ang ato ang dapat i-reject. Okay? Muna itong dapat i-reject. Now, let's proceed to the critical value. Critical value, it is the value, no? Just like what I have said, no? It is a value of the test statistic which defines the upper and lower bounds of a confidence level or of a confidence interval, or which defines the threshold for statistical significance in a statistical test. So we have here the formula of critical probability, or P star is equal to 1 quantity of alpha divided by 2, where the alpha is equal to 1, the quantity of the confidence level divided by 100. Now, Let's proceed to the decision rule. So decision rule refers to the rule that specifies how to choose between two or more competing hypotheses about the observed data. So sa decision, I mean, sorry class, the decision rule class, no, it is also a conclusion of your hypothesis testing. So conclusion siya sa inyong kanang null hypothesis class or sa inyong hypothesis testing. So nahog siya conclusion. Now, let's proceed to the next slide. Here, we have here the steps in hypothesis testing. So for step one, statement of the problem. So you have to know first your problem in your research. Then the step two, state the hypothesis. So you need to state, no, you need to state the null hypothesis and not and alternative hypothesis in words. Now for step three, test statistic. So identify the appropriate test statistic used. So diha na no, mangita mo kung sa inyong gamiton si chi-squared t-test ba, si chi-squared test ba, si t-test ba, si z-test ba, si Pearson R ba, or si correlation ba. Yan no? Okay. Now for findings. So you know whether you will accept or reject the null hypothesis. So diha na nimo mahibaw-an no kanus ka mo accept kanus sa ka mo reject sa null hypothesis. Now for number 5 is your interpretation. So diha na nimo ibutang class no imo na i-state ang imong conclusion kung imong conclusion og imong application sa imong study. So anyone has or do you have any question class about the introduction of hypothesis testing before we end? Okay, thank you. So hearing none, so I think and I hope that every one of you nakasabot sa kuang discussion and I hope also that you watch this video. Okay, so hearing none, okay, class dismissed. So thank you everyone for your listening.